Andre Roberson, another guy who, if he ain't dunking, watch your head because that ball's coming off sideways.
Yeah, I can definitely outshoot him. Both those guys. Simmons, too.
Yeah.
I was willing to put a lot of money on that.
Yep.
Interesting time we live in where you don't need to shoot to play good basketball.
No, it's unbelievable, Jenna.
Moving on to America's Game of the Week, Eagles at Rams, Sunday on Fox. This young Rams team looking to improve to 10-3 on the season, while this young Eagles team hoping to bounce back from their blowout loss to Seattle last week. And speaking of young, Rams head coach Sean McVay and Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz.
He's a smart player. You can just see by the way he plays the game. He understands what he's seeing from the defenses and how that affects his decision-making and what he's going to do with the football. And then clearly he's got the talent, you know, both with his arm and his just overall athleticism to utilize his legs to beat you in. And those are scary things to try to defend, and it's why he's been playing at such a high level and why he's a great quarterback.
Now, Nick, I know that you gave up gambling on sports a couple of weeks ago. It's no longer your thing. Is that not what you
gave up giving America my picks because I felt like I was increasing the national debt by the week. Now I'm only increasing my own personal debt.
Okay,
so, I still gamble.
I got all the words wrong in that sentence.
No. You were right. You were right, Jenna. I gave up giving out picks on the show.
All that being said, Rams.
Jenna, sometimes when we have segments that aren't as popular or as good as we'd like,
not true.
Sometimes
that's not what it was. Nick's picks was a rating. Nick's picks was a ratings bonanza.
It's on the director's floor.
On the sword.
Jenna,
ratings bonanza. But we love you, Nick. So
as you were asking.
As we were saying, Rams 2.5 points favored in this one. I feel like this might have surprised you a little bit. You surprised they were favored at all?
I was surprised only because of this reason. What that means is Vegas thinks these two teams are basically even because you get around 3 points for being at home. Now, Vegas might actually think this means the Rams are a little bit better because the Rams do not have a typical home field advantage. In fact, the Rams this week have been practicing the silent count because they think in their stadium that it's going to be more Philly fans.
Philly fans, a little winter vacation.
Right? No, seriously.
Yes.
And Philly fans travel well.
Yes.
Anyone that's ever lived in Los Angeles knows there's an enormous amount of Boston, New York, and Philadelphia transplants that live there permanently. And so this won't be a typical home game. So Vegas is saying they're either even or the Rams are slightly better. That is what I think. It surprises me that's where the conventional wisdom is right now. But there's a reason to think these two teams are even. Like, this is unbelievable. Right now, two teams tied for first in the NFL in points, the Rams and the Eagles. The two teams with the most blowout wins. No one has more than two except for the Rams and the Eagles, who both have 4. The two quarterbacks with the highest yards per completion this year, aside from Deshaun Watson, who's not playing, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. So there's a lot of reasons to look at these two teams as very close to equals, even though the way they play is different.
The only thing, can I just real quick, the only thing when I was looking at that too, I was like, these are really close teams. I said Eagles have the #1 defense against the rush, and the Rams are ranked 27th. So if you're going to look for some place where you can find an edge, that may be where they look.
Jenna?
What?
330 yards a game that Rams defense is giving up. No, I would call that stealing, but it's coming from you, so that's a good fact. You pulled that one. Nick, I got to keep my eye on him. I'm only allowed to use so many numbers. But
I actually didn't get that one.
It's a tremendous observation. And when we start coming down the stretch, we're trying to figure out, okay, what are the differences in some of these teams? All right? There's one way of trying to explain it through Vegas, but like the tail of a tape. All right, offensively, defensively, some of the personnel matchups in this game. I think that the Rams, their ability, can they throw the ball with their young wide receivers against this young DB group in Philadelphia that struggled last week, especially as far as penalties. So what I want to watch is, does this young group secondary, the Eagles, do they come out and try to play the same aggressive style that they have played with Jim Schwartz, because that's what he does with his front rotation of 8, but they hold a lot and play a lot of man in the secondary, every place he's been. So after being penalized a lot in Seattle, do they come out and aggressive from the beginning? So that's what I want to watch. And can they run the ball on Philadelphia's defense? If the Rams are able to run it on the defense, that opens them up for the play action pass. And I'm going to tell you, and we have seen this with Kansas City and some other teams, your NFL season can flip-flop in 5 to 7 days. Now, we were talking about the Eagles last week. Were they the best? They're on the power ranking, USA Today, everyone else, all these other publications, that they were number one. They lose one game in Seattle. They dropped all the way to number 5. So how much faith did people have in them? How much faith does this young football team who started fast last year, didn't make it quite this far, does that start to creep in doubt on this West Coast trip? Because imagine this. On Monday, if we're talking about Minnesota in a 2-game stretch, with Case Keenum, they went to Atlanta, beat Atlanta, and if they're able to beat Carolina in Carolina to have home field advantage, Philly goes to Seattle, who's struggling, loses there, go to the Rams, lose to the Rams. Not only the home field advantage.
Suddenly the whole story's flipped.
Yeah, and we have a whole different NFC come Monday morning.
You mentioned a super interesting point about the way the Eagles play defense in the secondary. So what you're describing, that aggressive style, that's why leading into last week, they had 13 picks in their last 6 games. And that's why they are forcing almost as many turnovers as any team in football. But it's also why they are the 2nd worst team in the league in yards after catch they've given up. Because when you're aggressive, you're going for the pick. If you don't get it, guy's off. And you know which team is the best in the league at accomplishing yards after the catch? The Rams. So you've got one team that is bad. If a pass is completed, they're bad at getting the guy to the ground.
Yes.
Playing the team that's
because you play a lot of man-to-man, there's more space.
Right.
There's not a whole bunch of guys. If that man-to-man guy misses, there's open space, green grass.
It's like a boom or bust situation, and it's worked out great for them. But the Rams are positioned better than almost any team in the league, take advantage of that because they've been so good at the yards after catch, whether that's Gurley coming out of the backfield, Cooper Kupp, Sammy Watkins, any of these.
And a lot of screens, quick screens.
One of the things people will be looking at are the 2 quarterbacks, 2 young, bright, up-and-coming, athletic quarterbacks. You know, both had shaky years last year. One had a shakier year than the other, and both leading their teams to very promising seasons this year. What do the two shake out for you guys?
To me, the biggest difference between these 2 quarterbacks right now is just experience. That Carson Wentz has played, he played from the beginning of his rookie year, so he got through some of those trials and tribulations earlier. Jared Goff, he's only played 19 games. And we're now seeing them both really fully into year 2, even though this year 2 for Jared Goff started at the beginning of the year. So I think they're both... I think they are both on their way to justifying their draft positions.
Yes, both of these guys will be very successful in the NFL. Both of these guys are franchise quarterbacks. But you have to give Carson Wentz, he has the advantage. Not only last year was he in the same system, played more than Goff did, but he had the same coach. All right? Goff, you said he played last year, but I'll take that year away. That was a redshirt year. This is his first year with Sean McVay. They're 9-3. So let's wait another year for him. It's his first year to coach.
All right. We'll switch gears on the other side. Coming up, has LeVar Ball finally gone too far? That's next on First Things First.